Hey YouTube, it's me, Ashley, a girl in her flowers, and welcome to my channel. I'm kind of looking at the camera odd because it's sideways for the first time, and I'm not really used to that because I got this mount for it. And okay, so I hope everyone's having a pleasant day. I know I usually kind of sit and rant to you guys about different type of motivational things, but seeing as though it is Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to kind of share my story and hopefully open up the door for other people to share theirs as well. um First, let me say that some of this may trigger, some of what I'm about to talk about may trigger some things in people who are already battling depression. So I just want to warn you guys that first, that I might get a little in depth into my story, and some things are a little bit, um, they're a little deep. I mean, it's pretty deep. So I want to first start by telling you guys a little bit more about what I battle. I know I've discussed with you all that I have diagnosed anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder. Um, I have also suffered from suicidal ideations and body dysmorphia. Um, and that's pretty much the gist of it. I would say that my anxiety is probably the worst now out of the things that I battle. And I like to use the word battle because I don't like the word suffer. I don't want to say that I'm suffering because I'm battling. And every now and then I might slip up and say suffer, but I'm battling, that's for sure. So I first started to notice signs of depression in myself in my young teen years. I have always been overweight as long as I can remember, and going to school and having other people point that out was pretty rough for me. But I had a loving family, and I was able to, I guess, suppress my sadness for quite some time. I had some moments in my youth where I considered killing myself, and I couldn't let that, win. I always had this will to be strong. But I would like to say that things kind of took a turn for the worse probably when I was 24. So at some point at the age of 24, I had moved 500 miles away from my family, and I had a just 2-year old, I want to say, and I was having a rough time. I was pretty alone and decided that my child would be better off without me. I can recall the day in April when I called a friend and asked her to come pick me up because I needed to go to the hospital because I was going to kill myself. I had it all planned out. Not necessarily what I was going to do, but where my son was going to go and what I was going to, how much better his life would be without me. So something in me told me that when you have it planned out that way, that maybe you should, reach out for help. And I didn't want to do any harm to my child. So my friend drove 2 hours to pick me up and take me to the hospital where I was committed for suicidal ideations and depression. Um, that's when I started my medications. So when I was discharged from the hospital, I was discharged leveling up on Zoloft, which brought out this really bad anxiety in me. I almost felt like an addict. I couldn't function through life without taking my Zoloft, and sometimes taking an extra Zoloft because I felt my anxiety kind of kicking up on me. So I weaned myself off of Zoloft. And then I was taking Celexa. And then I gave birth to my second child and was overwhelmed with all of these feelings of joy and happiness. And though I was still battling this depression and this anxiety, I was distracted by the joy in my life. And somewhere around maybe 2 weeks old, I started to feel postpartum depression, which really kicked my butt, and I started on a track of Wellbutrin. Currently, I don't take any medications. I meditate as much as possible, and I write. The struggle is a real struggle every day. It is so important to take care of your mental health because you don't want to end up in the places that I was. I mean, I was there at the door to death and I was ready to walk through. And that's rough. And it's a rough feeling when you feel like you don't have any support. But there's always someone. If you have to call the suicide hotline, then so be it. If you have to call a friend and you're afraid, you don't have to talk about everything you're feeling, but let some things out because, I mean, that's what they're here for. I just started going to the depression clinic at my job because I don't want to allow this issue to defeat me. Mental health is a very serious thing, and I know that in some homes and in some cultures it's kind of like what happens in your house stays in your house, but it can't be like that. Suicide is the third, I want to say it's the third most the third cause of deaths in the world, like number 3, because this is an overwhelming feeling. Today at work, or even just the past few months with this blog, my anxiety has shot up because I have all these fears, and unfortunately with my anxiety I get upset. I have obsessive thoughts, so I can think of every negative situation out of everything. I mean, I know that this can turn into this and turn into this and turn into this, and I try to be a very motivating person, and people always tell me that I give great advice and I'm great to talk to, but I am internally battling something that's rough. And you have to recognize it, and seek help when help is needed. Don't be ashamed to have to ask for help. And I know that was my problem at first. I was ashamed to admit that I was ready to give up. I had given up. And that made me feel even worse. I felt like a failure. I have children. I mean, in my mind, I thought that things should be one way. And if it wasn't that way, then it was wrong. But that's not the case. And so this video is less of a rant and more of a plea that if you know someone who is battling depression, or if you yourself are battling depression, hold out your hand, ask for help, reach for help, offer help, because this life is short. It's the only one we have, and we gotta take advantage, and why not help other people? There are so many resources out there, and it's hard for me to talk about this topic because it's a little more vulnerable than I like to be. But I feel like it's necessary as a Black woman to be able to go out into the world and say that, yes, I am battling depression and anxiety, and I don't look in mirrors at my house sometimes, and I have moments of melancholy and I don't want to get out of the bed, and I can't stop crying, and I don't know why I'm crying, and my legs won't stop shaking, and I have every obsessive thought in my mind that I can't sleep. And it's tough. it's really hard to put it that like in another word or other words, but that it's tough. And it's important to seek help. Please, please, please do not ignore the signs. Do not ignore. Don't tell yourself it's going to get better, because if you're truly depressed, it doesn't get better by just suppressing it. You can hide it. You can put it to the back of your mind, but when it's there, it's there. And it's not just dealing with a bad breakup or going through something rough. It's a darkness that overtakes you. And I just want to be the voice in your ear telling you to go and get help. Talk to me. Talk to anyone. Go find, there's apps now, and you can always, like I said, call the suicide hotline, or if you have health insurance, there's nurse lines, there's help. Almost every major hospital has a psychiatric ward. And I know that that sounds like, oh, that's crazy, but that's not it. That's a ward to help you when you have mental health issues. It's not like what you see in the movies. My stay at the hospital was extremely powerful. It was a beautiful experience. It really opened my eyes to know that I'm not alone. You're not alone. And hopefully this video reaches someone who knows someone who knows someone, or starts a type of conversation. You know, every conversation is important, especially when it comes to something like this. We can't ignore it forever. So this video is getting long, and I can feel the tears welling up in my eyes as I talk about this. So I think it's time to end it. So please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll try to talk about something less heavy tomorrow. It's Mother's Day coming up, and I have a few things I want to do with the boys. And just as a special treat, I'll end this video with a really cute video of Ashton and Caden. Meditate. And until next time. La 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 la.